I'm pretty sure you must have received a wedding invitation card. The family inviting you for the wedding will have multiple copies of this card. So how do they get it in the first place? So when they go to a card designer and provide their specifications for the card, the designer creates a template with their specification, and then on their approval, he creates multiple copies of this template, which results in every copy looking exactly the same when printed. When you receive one of the copies, you can scribble some drawing on it, you can write something on it, although it doesn't make sense to write something on a wedding card. But yeah, it's your copy. You can write whatever you like on it. But it does not change the actual template which is with the designer. It also does not change the copy which your friend may have received. So this template resembles a class in Java, and the copies resemble objects. A copy is a single occurrence of this template and is also referred to as an instance. Now that we have a context, let's look at a Java class in this module. The objective is to learn what is a class, what is an object, what is a reference variable, how are methods declared in a class, constructors used to create objects of a class, how object can refer to itself, what is garbage collection, and a classic example of a class, a stack class. Everything in Java is built using the class. It provides the state and behavior of an object. It defines a new type of data. As we know, everything in Java needs to have a type. The class provides the type. When an object is created, it is of that class type. A class forms the basis for object-oriented programming. Here's an example of a class. In the middle, we have class rectangle. It has state and behavior. The length and breadth represent the state of the class, while the perimeter and the area methods represent the behavior. There are two objects of this rectangle class, rectangle object 1 and rectangle object 2. Each have their individual states and behaviors. The length is equal to 10, breadth is equal to 20, which is the state of rectangle object 1, and length equal to 100 and breadth equal to 200 is the state of the rectangle object 2. Here's an example of a class. The keyword class is used to define a class. A class defines a new type of data. Name of the class TubeLight is used to identify this type of data. This name is used to declare objects of type TubeLight. IsOn represents the state of the class. This is an instance variable. It's called an instance variable because each object of the class has its own copy. Turn on, turn off methods represent the behavior of this class. Both the state and the behavior, that is the instance variables and the methods, are called the members of the class. A class is just a template. It does not create an actual object. Here's another example of a class, rectangle, which has the instance variables length and breadth of type int, and methods perimeter, area, get length, get breadth, set breadth. Class is just a template and it is not an object. To create an object of a class rectangle, we use the following statement. Rectangle followed by space rectangle. This is the variable equal to new rectangle. Rectangle will be an instance of class rectangle. Each instance will have its own copy of its variables, that is length and breadth. Change in variable values of one object will not have any effect on other object variables. To illustrate that each instance of a class has its own copy of data, we have two instances, rectangle 1 and rectangle 2 created. Dot operator is used to access the member variables using which different length and breadth values are assigned to both the instances. In the first case, we set the length to 10 and breadth to 20. And in the second instance, we set the length to 100 and breadth to 200. The same dot operator is used to access the member methods. Calling perimeter method on rectangle 1 produces the result of 2 into 10 plus 20, which is 60. And on rectangle 2, it produces the result of 2 into 100 plus 200, which is equal to 600. The area of rectangle 1 and rectangle 2 will produce a result of 200 and 20,000 respectively. We can see that the instance variable values are different in each instance. When rectangle 1 dot perimeter is executed, the Java runtime system transfers control to the code defined inside the perimeter method. After the statements inside the perimeter method have executed, control is returned to the calling routine and execution resumes with the line of code following the call. In the previous slide, we saw how a new operator was used to create an object of type rectangle. Let's take a look at what exactly it does. In order to use an object, it needs to be physically present in memory. New operator allocates memory for an object and returns the address of that memory location. In order to make use of the members of the object, the memory address needs to be stored in a variable. Rectangle space rectangle equal to new rectangle. In this, the rectangle in all lowercase is the reference variable of type rectangle. It holds the address of the memory where the object is stored. New rectangle creates an object of type rectangle, saves it in memory, and returns the address of the memory location. Let's take a look at the reference variable in detail. The first line, rectangle, white space, rectangle in all lowercase. So this rectangle in all lowercase is the reference variable of type rectangle. The value of it is null, which indicates that it is not yet pointing to any object. So the value it holds is null. The next line, rectangle reference variable is equal to new rectangle followed by parentheses. The parentheses specify the constructor for the class. A constructor defines what occurs when an object of the class is created. Now the rectangle holds the address of the object. Rectangle, this is the memory location which is pointing to an object. Continuing on the reference variables, we have rectangle R1 is equal to new rectangle. Here R1, which is assigned the memory address location of the object rectangle created. Now we have R2, which is of type rectangle, and R1 is assigned to R2. So in this case, both R1 and R2 refer to the same object. This assignment of R1 to R2 does not allocate any memory or copy any part of the original object. It simply makes R2 refer the same object as referred by R1. Any changes made to the object using R2 will reflect in the object referred by R1. Let's look at how we can define methods in a class. Here are a few examples of how different methods are defined. We've already seen the perimeter in the rectangle class. So perimeter returns the perimeter of the rectangle, which is 2 into length plus breadth. These are the instance variables. A method has a name, 0 or more parameters, and a return type. The type of the value being returned should be compatible with the return type declared. The first method has the name perimeter, takes no parameters, nothing is within the parentheses after the method name, and has an int return type. The second method has the name print perimeter, takes two parameters, and has a void return type because nothing is being returned. The third method has the name print instance variables, takes no parameters, and has a void return type. When print perimeter method is invoked, we pass the values of 1000 and 2000. The values that are passed are referred to as arguments. Constructor of a class. The instance variables length and breadth are initialized using methods setLength and setBreadth. This type of initialization is not feasible if there are a lot of instance variables. It would be easier and more concise to have all the setup done at the time the object is created. A constructor is used to initialize an object immediately upon creation. It has the same name as the class in which it resides and is syntactically similar to a method. It is automatically called immediately after the object is created before the new operator completes. It does not have a return type, not even void. This is because the implicit return type of a class's constructor is the class type itself. It is the constructor's job to initialize the internal state of an object so that the code creating an instance will have a fully functional, usable object immediately. In this case, note that the values of length and breadth are set after the object is created. The previous class is reworked such that the dimensions of the rectangle are automatically initialized when an object is created. Note the constructor rectangle where the value of 10 is assigned to length, value of 20 is assigned to breadth. So when we create objects of this rectangle class, and in this case rectangle 1 and rectangle 2, and when we access the perimeter of both these objects, the values that are returned are same because both the objects have the same length and breadth values. In the previous examples, we have seen constructors which do not take any parameters. But in this example, we have a constructor which takes two int parameters. Constructors which declare one or more parameters are referred to as parameterized constructors. To create an object using the parameterized constructors, we use this below code. Rectangle is equal to new rectangle and pass the values of length and breadth. The values of length and breadth are passed as arguments when constructing an object of this rectangle class. So each object is initialized with the parameters in its constructors. Let's look at this keyword and its use. This keyword is used to refer to the current object on which a method is invoked. The constructor from the previous slide is reworked to include this keyword. The usage of this is redundant in this case. It's just for illustration purposes. The usage means to say that the values of L and B need to be assigned to instance variables length and breadth of the object being created at that moment. Length and breadth are the instance variables of the class rectangle, as we have seen. The parameter names in the constructor were L and B. But if we change it to length and breadth, which is same as the instance variable names, and perform the assignment, so in this case, the value of length and breadth are being assigned to themselves and not to the instance variables. The names of the instance variables and the variable within the constructors are same. This will work because the scopes of the variables are different. Note, it is illegal to have the same name for the local variables within the same or enclosing scope. When a local variable has the same name as an instance variable, it hides the instance variable. In order to assign the instance variables with the values of local variables, this can be used to refer to this current object. Everything that comes to life has to die. But what has that to do with garbage collection? And what is this garbage collection? Let's try to answer this question. Like the new operator which is used to allocate memory, is there an operator to deallocate memory? The answer is no. There isn't any operator. Like in C++, there's something called delete, but in Java, there isn't any operator. Java handles deallocation for you automatically. This technique is called garbage collection. When there are no references to an object, it is assumed that it is no longer needed and the memory occupied by the object is reclaimed. Garbage collection has no fixed time when it runs. It is very sporadic. It is not triggered when objects are no longer used. Java runtime implements garbage collection mechanism. Implementation details are not required to be learned for writing programs. Let's take a look at garbage collection in detail. We have an instance of rectangle created so that the rectangle holds the memory address location of the rectangle object. So when we assign a value of null to this reference variable, this rectangle is no longer having the memory location of this object. So this object is on its own. It is not being referred to by any reference variable. So here the reference to rectangle object is removed by assigning null to it. Now the object has no reference and is eligible for garbage collection. But just before dying, if there is a last wish, will that be fulfilled? It might be, but what does that have to do with finalize? Let's try to answer this question to see how it is related. If object will be garbage collected, can necessary actions like releasing system resources like open files or sockets be performed before it is garbage collected? Yes. You will need to perform these actions in a method called finalize. This is referred to as finalization. Here's how the method is declared: protected, void, finalize. Your finalization code goes inside this method. It is important to understand that finalization occurs just prior to garbage collection, not when an object is moving out of scope. So it is not a good idea to rely on finalize method for a release of system resources. The critical system resources may be required immediately when an object moves out of scope. Hence, other means of releasing system resources must be incorporated. There is no guarantee of garbage collection. Hence, you need to be careful. Here's an example of a real life Java class, a stack class. This program shows the real power of classes. It shows how data and code that works on this data are encapsulated. As we have already discussed, it refers to the object-oriented principle called encapsulation. A stack stores data using first in, last out ordering. It is like a stack of plates on a table. The first plate put down is the last to be used. Stacks are controlled through two operations, pop and push. To place an item on stack, you will use push. To take an item out, you will use pop. So the stack class has three instance variables: stack, which is an integer array which will hold the integers. Index is the position in the array where the integer needs to be stored. Count is the number of integers that the array can hold. It has a constructor which initializes the integer array with the number of integers that it can hold. Push method, which adds an integer to the array. Pop method, which is used to remove an integer from the array. So here's another class with a main method which creates an object of stack using the parameterized constructor, passes the count. When we call the pop method, the output is stack is empty because obviously there is no data in the stack yet. Then we use the push methods to push 10, 20, and 30. And when we use the pop methods, we get the last inserted value first, then the next one, and then the first one that was inserted. To summarize, we have learned that class is core to Java. It is the blueprint for creating objects. We have seen how to create objects, how to use reference variables to refer to an object of type class, how to declare methods in a class. We learned about the default and the parameterized constructors, about using this to refer to the object itself, how objects without references will be deallocated from memory, this is garbage collected, how finalize method can be used to perform required tasks before an object is deallocated from the memory, and a real life example of a Java class, which is the stack class.